Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. What's going on, guys? My name is Nick. I hope you guys are doing well. And today, we're doing a 20 things that we've learned in 2020. And that's happening today on Nick and Nick at Night.
Right now.
We'll have to redo all that.
No, we don't. I'll just cut it out. Wherever we go.
That was good.
Part of me used to have an adult one because his commentary is hilarious. Yeah, this is usually what happens when your artist is underneath the site. You take that, just react. Hey everyone.
This is. You are so unprepared and unprofessional right now.
Well, we both were because the intro was 3 seconds from ending. You go, who's starting? And then I just said, hey guys.
But you went with it. You gotta roll with it.
I know,
Gotta roll with the punches.
You were starting to talk and I talked and I was like, oh, he's talking, and then I just lost it.
All right,
There's
anyway.
a reason I'm usually behind camera.
I agree. Anyway, no. Today, guys, as I said in the intro, we are doing a top 20 things that we have learned in 2020. Some of it's going to be very personal, some of it's going to be funny, and some of it actually comes from you guys, the viewers. So we're excited to just jump into this. If you are new here, hit the subscribe button.
Like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. So that way you can know every time a video posts. I watch a lot of YouTube.
He does watch a lot of YouTube. I do not, so I don't know all of these things. But anyway, we are excited you're here. We're very thankful you're here. But let's just jump straight into it. What we'll do is we'll kind of read it, have some commentary, and then if you guys have anything that you'd like to add, drop it in the comments below. Shoot us a text. Let's make this an ongoing conversation. It doesn't have to end with just this video. So, because I think this is an awesome topic to think about and to really work around is what are some of the things that we have learned this year. And I'm going to start off by saying the unknown can be really scary. And I'm starting that off hard, and I'll explain it just a little bit. Is I remember even at the beginning of all this COVID stuff, we were asking ourselves questions. And I remember there was this one time specifically that I was sitting there talking to Rachel, who's my wife, if you don't know, whoever's watching.
Wait, you're married?
I'm married. Almost a year, by the way.
That's crazy.
We are 15 days out from being a year. Anyway, at the time of recording, that is. But I remember looking at her and going, hey, if things get really bad, and everything starts going into a shortage, I'm going to go be the gatherer. I'm going to be the one who puts my life at risk because my life is the least important one out of this family. That's crazy stuff to be trying to talk about, especially in year one of marriage. But I remember having that conversation because I didn't know what was coming. All we were hearing is this country's shutting down and this country's shutting down and there's shortages on this and that and there's no chicken and you know what I mean? It got to be pretty scary. But, we're glad that obviously it didn't end up that severe.
Right.
We had to adjust and change things, but it wasn't too crazy. So, what else you, Nick? What's something you've learned this year?
Change is hard. Change is one of the hardest things, which I already knew it, but it becomes much more self-evident. When everything rapidly changes in everyone's lives, everything comes to a screeching halt everywhere. Something can happen in your life and it's a big change, but my life goes on. Same as normal, right? But COVID happens, everyone's lives changed all at the same time. Some for the better, some for the worse.
Sure. Actually, you mentioned that, and one of the responses that I wanted to bring to you guys was actually from Drew Laughlin, and he says this. He says, because we've had to adapt to such a big change like COVID, the smaller ones we used to dread are not as big of a deal anymore.
Right.
Like it has almost liberated us to realize that it could be worse, you know? I think that's kind of cool. What do you think about that one?
I like it. I mean, there's definitely like important elements in there.
Yeah.
And I think there's just so much that has happened that has affected us as a whole.
What's the way you feel like you've been impacted the most out of this whole thing?
My work has definitely been impacted, which causes a trickle effect for everything else in your life.
Has that been scary for you?
Yes, it has, but I've also tried to like not worry about it too.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, like kind of like leave it. In all this, I've tried to leave everything kind of in God's hands and just kind of like let it be, like just let it, like let what, like, just leave everything up to God and not worry about it as much as possible.
Yeah.
So like I know like at the end of the day, God's gonna provide everything I need. So like.
Now let me
okay.
Go. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, now that we are 6 months into this thing, like, do you find that that's helped you? Like we're not at the beginning anymore. This is now kind of a portion of our life, and it's something eventually we'll just kind of have to totally say, hey, this is just it. It's part of life, and we got to choose to live our life in this. Do you think that kind of philosophy of like, I'm just trusting God with it, and like, has that helped?
It
has God kind of talked to you through it and answered?
I don't know if I've had like God like talk to me like on a like one-to-one level.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've never really experienced that in my life.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that because I honestly think I'd be freaked out considerably. Like I would definitely be like, I don't know what to do. Like he'd be like, you know, if it like, go free the Israelites, right? I'd be like, I don't know about that, dude. I don't know. You seem like a crazy dude. That happened a couple thousand years, you know, but
sure.
But I definitely feel like he's definitely like provided. Because every time I'm like, I don't know what's next. Like I don't know, like, because there have been like multiple levels of things, right? So COVID happened. And that was right at the beginning of my mowing season, right at the beginning of March. And that's when I was still working for the cable company.
Yeah.
And we canceled all our programming. So all our in-studio programming, all our
your sporting events.
All our sporting events, everything got canceled. So that little, pretty much my gap of like my peak season for the cable company and the beginning of my season where it's ramping up, there's like that like, this is ramping up and this is ramping down. So like sports was usually ramping down and then mowing was starting to ramp up. Well, mowing didn't ramp up and sports just dropped off. So there was no smooth transition.
You didn't quite have that coverage that
right. And it just kind of dropped and it was like, okay, this is a little scary.
Ooh.
But then it all kind of like worked out. And then every couple months it might be like, all right, this is the next hurdle, like this is the next thing that's coming up on the horizon and I don't know how I'm going to pull it off. And it just kind of always works out. And it's okay sometimes to not have all the answers.
Yeah.
I think that would be my next piece of advice is like, it's okay to not have the answers to what's going on.
So you think that's something you've learned in 2020?
Yeah, because I definitely am like, I mean, you know me. Mm-hmm. I like having the answers to things. So I definitely want to know what's going on, like a mission trip. We leave at this time, A, B, C, D, we arrive, E, F, G, H, I, all the way through the week. And we're, like I like to have the plan. I'm definitely the guy that likes a little schedule. And I know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that has not happened at all, right? So
to kind of go with that, I think something else that I've learned about myself is that I'm actually much more of a planner than I ever really realized, because I've noticed that in my work and in other things, like I've been asking the questions like, well, when are we going to be able to do this? And when are we going to be able to do that? because in my head, I need to understand where we're going so that I know how we're going to do things. And that has been increasingly frustrating, to kind of like not be able to plan because you don't know how things are going to be. And like, you know, like right now,
Well, I know
We're here in
we've
September.
had many conversations.
you
because,
and me definitely have a lot of
I mean,
conversations.
I was interning in March still, and we plan out 6 months in advance, and then everything came to a crashing halt, and we were like, we're not going to plan anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a lot of fun stuff planned.
I mean, the week we shut down was a week we were supposed to go on a spring retreat.
Yep.
A couple months later, we were supposed to do a mission trip. We had a couple random events in between.
Yep, and then we were supposed to have a mystery road trip that happened back in July.
Yep.
We were supposed to have all these fun events
That we weren't able to do.
just didn't happen.
And that was frustrating.
It was sad too. I was excited.
Well, honestly, like it made me question a little bit, because part of me was like, Lord, these are things that I feel like you've told me to do.
Right.
Like I pray about our schedule, and I pray about the things we do and why we do certain things. I don't just like, oh, this sounds fun, let's do that. You know, like I try to pray, and I try to like glean from really important people around me that I know, and like say like, what is it that we need? You know, we ask the kids, like we have a student leadership team that we go, hey, what is it you guys want to do? What would be impactful? And then we kind of base it off of that. So I'm like, God, we've done all this work. We've prepared all of this stuff. Why are we taking it away? You know?
And I think that gives like a testament, right?
Yeah.
We definitely, and I'm definitely guilty of this. I definitely go like, have a conversation with God, and I have my reflection time, right? And I go, all right, I know exactly what he wants me to do, right? I know exactly what he wants me to do. And I go, all right, this is what we're going to do. And then I plan it out. And then like something changes, and I go, hold up.
Yeah.
That's not how I planned it. And then I go, wait, that's not how I planned it. And it's like definitely, like definitely like those things, like we plan things out because we think like that's what God wants us to do, but then we learn that's not what God wanted us to do.
True. Let's jump down to one that Avery Harper said. She said that life can change at a snap of the finger, which is something we've talked about. But she also added that treasure each moment as it comes. And I love that. That's actually a very identical lesson that I learned when I was in the Czech Republic. I went over there and visited a friend and did a youth camp over there at one point, and we were walking through the middle of Prague, and fireworks going off. Like, it was really kind of magical almost, you know what I mean? Like, fireworks were popping off, just a beautiful nightlife. Like, everybody was very friendly, very cool, and we were just walking through, and I was like, man, I'm gonna miss being here. I said that to the pastor, and the pastor goes, you know, you just have to slow down and really live in each moment, because you don't know when that's gonna happen again. You don't know when you're gonna see the people you're with again. You don't know when the next time you're gonna be able to go to the Czech Republic is, or whatever. And I haven't been to the Czech Republic since.
Right.
You know, and like that really hit me of like, wow, that is true. And that's very much what this means, is treasure each moment as it comes. And a lot of times, I don't know about you guys who are watching, or Nick, you, or anybody else, but I sometimes get so far ahead of myself and what's coming next that I don't truly stop and appreciate the present. And I've always kind of had a problem with that, because I'm always like, what's the next thing I got to set up? What's the next thing I got to prepare? But sometimes the most beautiful thing is in the present, and we have to learn to see it and engage it.
I absolutely have to agree. That's not something I learned in 2020. That's something I learned last year.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something I've learned, is that you just got to be thankful for every moment that you get in life, because you never know when there's going to be that change, or when something like something's going to happen that it's going to rock your world.
Yeah. So to kind of go, we told you guys that I was married, and
Wait, you're married?
I am married. But one of the things I've learned this year is authentic love is so crazy. And I don't know that I even had the words to articulate much past this, but like just when you fall in love with somebody that hardcore, like your brain just kind of like freezes in that moment.
Right.
And like you realize that love is not something that is limited. It's not finite. It's infinite.
Right.
Like I think I thought that I would get to a point of love where it's like, I've reached the peak of love, and I was just gonna feel that. But like I got there to a peak, and I realized that there's just another peak ahead on top of that, and just another, like I'm continuously falling more in love each day, and I recognize it because it's very selfless, it's very sacrificial, it's very caring, it's very loving, very much the things that you do. Like everybody kind of makes fun of reading 1 Corinthians 13 at weddings and stuff like that,
Right.
but like it lives itself out. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a youth pastor. Like this is genuine experience that love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. Like those things, like go read it. 1 Corinthians 13. And like, it's legit.
Yeah.
And it just keeps growing.
And I think the thing that like blows my mind, right, is like God's love for you.
Yeah.
Like we can process a finite amount of love, right? Like we can understand like, all right, like I love my girlfriend, my wife, my dog, whatever's important in your life. But then
You have
like
a dog?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But like God's love, it's never ending.
Yeah.
And it's just like no matter what you do, God loves you. And it's just like when you start trying to like wrap your mind around that, that's the part that's like mind-boggling for me. And that's something that we all get to always experience is God's love. So.
Well, a little bit of a lighter one that was actually submitted by my wife.
Okay.
She said that we learned that Carol Baskin did kill her husband. Nick, how do you feel about that?
I agree. Carol Baskin whacked him.
Just shut him down. Fed him to the tiger, you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great alibi.
I just find it very hard to believe that he wasn't murdered at all. Do with that as you will, people, but I'm just saying, it's a little fishy. It's a little fishy.
It is a little fishy, I'll give you that.
So the one I got was, take whatever you see on social media, the news, with like a grain of salt. And I've always known this, but in the age of everyone being stuck at home and having nothing to do, misinformation gets spread so rapidly. And that's not a major thing for you guys being in high school and middle school right now. It is, but it's not.
Yeah.
But it is so important that like educate yourself. Don't just believe what your parents tell you to believe, and don't have this, find reliable news sources, not Instagram, not the Kardashians, not TikTok. Even though they're all fun,
Yeah.
find reliable stuff, do your own research, and educate yourself. Because the conversations I've had with people about COVID, about stuff going on, people are just like, well, why do you know that? And it's young, old, whatever. I'm like, because I read a newspaper, I looked it up online. They're like, well, that's not what I heard on Fox News, or that's not what I heard on CNN, or that's not what I heard on, and I'm just going, you got to put a little more effort in than that. Like you can't just just absorb. You have to be active, especially with anything going on in life.
Yeah.
Whether it's stuff going on in your church, you have to be involved in church news, even though that's political in and of itself. But like, you want to affect change in your life in any way, whether it's your job, whether it's your happiness, whether it's your relationships, your spirituality. You have to take it and you have to educate yourself. So and then don't get snowed over at the same time.
Right. I would actually argue, you said it's not a big deal for the kids and stuff like that. In the social media that I'm a part of, it's very much so there. And whether, you're not watching, I doubt these kids are watching Fox News, but I would say that they are seeing CNN and Fox News clips pop up from somebody being like, did you see how the president said this? Or did you see how these numbers went this way? Or whatever. Like, there's information out there for anybody to find and to understand. So I think your point of educating yourself and doing your own research is very, very valuable.
Yeah.
I think one that I also realized is that I'm not fulfilled anymore by doing like 100 things. And like I've realized that there's so much more value in doing just a very few things. Do you know what I mean? Like our
quality over quantity.
Yes, quality of things over quantity of things. Where, you know, you used to kind of think that like if you're busy, you're being active, and being active is good. And now it's like being active is still good, but being intentional with your time and making sure that you're putting your time in places that are valuable and worthwhile to you is just as equally important.
I still haven't learned that one fully yet. I mean, you know, and our technical director knows, but I run 100%, like 100% all the time. And I definitely am also the one that tells people, hey, you need to slow down. You just need to relax. You need to live in the moment, right? I'm definitely one that has preached that over the last year and a half, and I'm definitely the last one to take my own advice. Because I'm always like, all right, well, I gotta do X, Y, and Z. I gotta get to the next thing. I gotta do, this, and this before I can relax.
Yeah.
And by the time I'm done all that, it's not time for me to relax. It's time for me to move on to the next thing. And then the next thing, and then the next thing.
It's just cyclical.
It's a cycle.
Yep. Andrew Farrell wrote a funny one that I thought. He says that hot wings and fruit punch don't go well together. What do you say to that one, Nick? Because Andrew is another one of the 6 of us so far that have done the hot wings challenge.
Yep.
So part of this statement is very heartfelt, and I understand what he's saying. And part of it's like, shouldn't have chugged so hard, dude.
That's my thing.
Strategy wasn't good.
Your strategy was poor, Andrew. Your strategy
Your
was
execution was not great.
You consumed too many liquids in a short amount of time.
Yes.
That was your issue. Wasn't the fruit punch, wasn't the spices. It was the sheer volume of liquid. That's like try to drink a gallon of milk and you throw up because you can't consume that much dairy all at once.
So, if you are thinking about doing the hot wings challenge, you will have liquids in front of you, but don't chug them all super quick. Just use it to clear a palate.
One thing that we learned in 2020 very well.
We know how to run a hot wings thing now.
I was going somewhere with that, and then I just lost it.
Okay.
I was like looking at my screen and.
Well, I've got another one that is, to me, this is a hard one to say I learned, or it's a sad one for me to say that I learned, and it's that we are more focused on being divided than we are together. And I'm not necessarily saying that as Hickory Flat United Methodist. I'm kind of just saying that as a society, that we have gotten to a point where it's much cooler to be divided and to be divisive than it is to come together in any kind of community. And that's kind of sad.
You're better off being that lone wolf or a small wolf pack of 3 or 4 or one side versus the other. And I would have to agree. That was one of my things, was there's still a lot of good people in this world that might not agree with you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I don't have to talk about it. There's a lot that's going on in this world. No matter what you believe or where you live, coronavirus, politics, whatever.
Yep.
There's still a lot of good people in this world. And they don't have to agree with you. I have a lot of friends that we differ politically, we differ spiritually. One of my partner in the fire department, he's not a Christian, and we don't have the same political beliefs. But that man right there would give his life for me.
Yeah.
And that right there, it doesn't matter what I believe. It doesn't matter that he's not a Christian. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. What matters is that he has my back and I have his, no matter what.
Yeah.
Because I would do the same for him. And that's what I think is more important, is that we need to learn to be okay to have differing opinions.
Yep.
You don't have to agree with everyone, and that doesn't automatically make them a horrible person for not agreeing with you.
And actually, to take that a step further, is I would say that, like, you should surround yourself with people who have different opinions sometimes. I'm not saying totally,
Right.
but you need to keep yourself learning. And if you only surround yourself with people who think exactly like you, you're never being challenged and you're never being pushed. And I don't think that's the way to be. And we have spoken on this many times, Nick, and I just want to reiterate, is that we are very much on the mindset that even if you don't agree, or even if the person might be ugly, it's still our job to treat them with respect and to approach those conversations with respect still. Even if they're not showing respect, we can't control what they are and what they do. We can only control us, and that is a way to show grace and humility in the middle of those situations too, without being too condemning and hateful.
Yeah.
I think one of the last ones for me, we've got a couple.
I don't even know what number we're on.
I don't either. We've kind of just, it's been good conversation though. So however many, maybe it's not the top 20, maybe it's the top 17, but I still have a couple that you guys submitted that I want to get to. But the last one for me, the last thing I've learned is that parenting is hard. And like, I've kind of known this. I've been a youth minister for a while. I've seen parents go through some hard stuff. But being on the side now and being a step parent myself now and really trying to figure out, even from the small things of like, how do we get the kids to eat what we think they need to eat, or how do we help them learn how to study or to interact with social situations, or go to bed on time, making sure they're washing themselves correctly or brushing their teeth well. Like, there's so many things to consider to help these kids grow into human beings that are respectful and loving and kind and all that stuff. And it's tough work. Like, it's emotionally draining. Sometimes it's obviously very fun and rewarding, but there's just so much to it. And like, if you're a parent watching, I understand you so much better now that I've been a parent for almost a year. And if you're watching and you have a parent, give them a little grace and join with them and remind them often that you love them, even after the times that you fight about them making a decision you don't agree with, or maybe they're not responding in ways that you would hope they would. Show them a little grace and extra love in those spaces.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the one that we got from Hunter Clay was that he shouldn't rely on other people for happiness. I think this is crucial.
Yeah.
I think it's critical. And that kind of ties into one of mine, which was investing in your own personal growth.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to realize that you can't control what other people say or do, no matter how much you want. You can't rely on other people to provide you happiness.
Yeah.
They might give you happiness being around a certain person, but you shouldn't rely on that, because what's going to happen is something's going to happen, you're going to have a fight, whatever. As a friendship, a relationship, whatever. And investing in your personal growth is good, because if you're personally growing, you're becoming more self-reliant. So you're relying on yourself for your happiness, you're relying on God for your happiness. And I don't think that means like don't rely on anyone ever, but I think it's important to realize like,
but it's not fair.
I can't rely on Nick Yother to give me all the happiness I need in my life.
Correct.
And I think that, and it might not be people, it might be things. Like, I need the newest PlayStation, or I need the newest Fortnite character, or whatever.
Yeah.
You gotta realize at some point it's, you yourself are gonna make yourself happy. And you can't
It's not fair to lean into somebody else to carry a load that you need to go through.
Yeah.
And I'm a very big advocate is that feeling any emotion is okay. Feeling overwhelmed is okay. Feeling stressed is okay. but you also have to work and walk through those things. And I think it's those spaces that they're uncomfortable and they're not fun, but it's important that we work or walk through those. And it's not fair to put that on somebody else to make you happy or to make you joyful. That's your responsibility,
Right.
overall.
Absolutely.
Ellie Jones, shout out Ellie Jones from Florida, saying having.
No. She's in Georgia now.
Oh, is she in Georgia now?
I think she's going to college up here.
Oh,
Because
I
I
didn't
talked
know
to
that.
Alicia the other day, and when this airs, it'll be a couple weeks ago, but I talked to her the other day, and she was like, I just got back from moving all of Ellie's stuff up here.
Great.
I was like, oh, cool. And then she asked about, we'll talk about that later, but she asked about something.
Cool. But she says having people you can trust is super important. And that is true too. Like,
Yes.
we're not, with the last thing we talked about, we're not advocating for not having community and not having people you're close to. We're saying that you shouldn't rely on that person to change your perspective and your outcome. But having people that you can go to who give good advice and stuff like that, those people are there to help and facilitate growth as opposed to just like a therapeutic response, you know,
Yeah.
like those people are there to help you have a good time, to just love on you.
They're a shoulder to lean on
Yeah.
as you limp, as you keep on limping through the battle.
Yeah.
I think is the best way to put it, because you're not just letting them carry you all the way through whatever's going on.
Yeah.
You're relying on them. You need them. You need a community, but you don't solely, fully expect them to get you through whatever you're working through.
True. The last one I have, I don't know if you got any more, Nick, and it's just how important family and friends are. And several people put this. I did a Facebook post, I did an Instagram post, and I got this back a lot. And I have to say, I agree. That friends and family are both very important. And I think if there's anything that isolation times kind of showed us is that these people are really near and dear to us, and life is weird without them.
Yes.
You know, and I feel that way even about you guys watching. If you're part of the youth group here or part of the church, it's weird to not be in constant community with you guys, and it's weird not having service for 6 months, and a lot of this is weird. But again, I just want to remind you guys that there's something here for us, and we still have 4 months of lessons to learn. You know, the growing doesn't stop now, and it doesn't change how we approach the rest of this year. And that's what I want to challenge you with. Do you have anything else before I kind of close this out?
It was family. Family's important.
Yeah.
So, kind of all
Ties in
ties
together.
in together.
Yeah. I think the last thing we just want to really encourage and challenge you with is that there's always space to grow and to learn. You're not a finished project. I'm still learning things that I feel like I should have learned years ago. But here I am, you know, and I want to encourage you to be a continuous learner. Seek out who to vote for. Seek out how you stand in this racial divide we have in this world. Find out where you stand with sports. You know, like be all in education and learn how to be a part of those things, but also learn the lessons you need to learn to make you a better person.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there's kind of like a out wide view, and then there's like a closer in view of like
Right.
what's right around me right now that I
Yeah.
need to learn. So,
And I think that education is important, because I had in small groups, I had one of the boys goes, oh, well, I've never, we were talking about the Bible, and I was like, well, like this book in the Old Testament, talks about, Leviticus talks about the rules of everything. He goes, oh, I've never read the Bible. And I was like, well, why? He said, I don't know. And I was like, okay. Well, would you read the Bible? He's like, well, yeah, I just haven't.
yeah.
And I was like, well, I encourage you to
To
read
go
the
do it,
Bible.
yeah.
I said, you don't got to read the whole thing all at once. Like, pick a book. Doesn't even have to be the beginning. You can pick right in the middle if you want.
Right.
But learn about it. Learn, because that's the only way you're going to grow. And I think that's important, is finding, I think that, and this is one of the big important things, is like, you don't have to agree with everything Methodism is. I think it's pretty great. Nick thinks it's pretty great, but you don't have to agree with it. You don't.
That's right.
There's a whole reason that there's Baptist and Methodist and Episcopalian. There's a reason, because someone didn't agree, and that's fine. It's okay, but I encourage you to not give up on your faith walk with God.
Just because you might not agree fully with everything.
With this one thing.
Sure.
Find somewhere where you do agree and where you can grow. And I think that's important.
True.
Growth is important, but I just think spiritual growth is
also important.
very important. Like, everything's important. Spiritual growth is like 2 steps up there, because it provides so much. And it's helped me a lot. So.
Good.
On that note.
On that note, guys, we're just very thankful for each one of you. Thankful for the time that you've given us, and
follow us on Instagram. Let's see if it pops up. Hey, we're getting better.
Shout out to Elijah. Thank you for helping us film today. But if you haven't joined our Instagram, check it out. It's at hickory.flat.youth. Always some good stuff going on up there. Sometimes I post devotionals. Sometimes it's just random thoughts. Sometimes it's asking for help to do videos like this. This is where we got some of our answers. So it's just a good way to stay connected and to be a part. And also we have the text tree.
Yep.
Nick, why don't you tell them about it?
That's a way for you guys to plug in. So if you guys want to know what we're doing, especially since we're doing a lot of stuff outside, so that gives you all the weather alerts. Hey, we're not doing it outside, we're doing it inside. Hey, we're not doing it at all tonight because there's a storm. We're going to do it 2 days from now, or whatever.
Right.
It gives you the opportunity to find out what we're doing, where we're doing it, and how to engage. And I think that's important, how to stay connected. And that, for you to sign up to that, is you're going to text at HFUMYF to 81010. So open up the message, 81010, put the little @ symbol, HFUMYF, text it out there, and you'll start receiving our messages.
That's true. One last thing, and I forgot to tell you, we got a special shout out from Sam Halverson. So we want to shout out you, Sam Halverson, and say thank you for just being awesome
Ham
in our lives.
Salverson?
Ham Salverson.
Ham Salverson.
But he said one of the things he learned in 2020 is that Nick is awesome.
Well, thanks, I guess.
Thanks.
It's been fun. It's definitely been one of those things that we talked about it in 2019. Like, hey, we should do a podcast. That would be great.
Yeah. And
then we were kind of forced to do it, and now
it's not even a podcast, it's a YouTube series.
When we took a break, I was like, I kind of miss it. Like, I miss that we're not doing it. And I like that we're doing it now.
Yeah.
I like that it's...
I think we will be taking it to another level hopefully soon.
I know.
As we get more entrenched in it.
Set design, new lighting, it would be fun.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a blast.
We've got plans. We're not happy with where we're at. We're not sad, but we don't feel like we're a finished project here
This
either.
is a very blank wall. It's very beige. Well, on this camera it's very yellow, but it's very beige, very bland.
But it's a great canvas for potential.
Yes, absolutely. The potential is there.
So we got plans. We'll make it happen hopefully sooner rather than later, but you guys don't necessarily care about that. You guys want us to be done with this video. I want us to be done with this video, so I'm going to say, love you guys.
Like, subscribe, and comment below.
Peace!